Hi everyone, it's Jean from Sew It Themes. Welcome to my channel. I'm so happy you could stop by for a little bit. I am going to be doing sort of a craft along with me video, and I'm going to construct a cloth covered TN style junk journal. And it's going to be a botanical theme, and it's going to be much like the one that I recently did, only I'm going to be using this lovely fabric. Isn't this really nice? It just really just inspired me so much. It's very vibrant in its colors, and I kind of like that. You know, I work with a lot of shabby chic and vintage, but this vibrancy is something to change of pace for me, and I really like this. And I'm going to show you my method of doing it. I haven't seen other people do it, but doesn't mean it hasn't been done before, but this is the way I choose to do it. I start with printing out the inside of my cover first, and this is the print that I'm going to be using, and I measure it out to see, you know, what is the measurement of it, and I cut my fabric just, let me get these out of here, cut my fabric just a wee bit, you know, like 1/8 of an inch larger. And what you can really, you can even lay the cover down and cut around it if you want. I use a rotary cutter and a ruler because, you know, I'm a quilter too, so this is what I do to cut out my fabric, which, hey, you can definitely use scissors. They work too. So I think this measured like 8 1/4 by 8 3/4 square. So I just added like 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and this is what I have. So then I cut out a piece of interfacing, and this interfacing is like a medium weight, and it's an iron-on, and you can tell the glue side because it's very rough and the outside is very smooth. So you want the rough side down on your fabric. Now before I get started, I'm going to get my iron over here, my ironing pad I should say, not my iron board. And I think, oh, I'm kind of dry. Just a moment, I gotta spill it with water. Okay, I had to fill my iron with water. I've been doing a lot of ironing this morning. So get a hot, steamy iron and put your interfacing, the rough side, down onto the back. Now I like to do this, let me make sure I got it at the right angle here. Here we go. I like to do this because it really gives a lot of strength to the fabric, and it just helps, I feel, fabric to stay nice and smooth and stiff for you, especially if you're working with a fabric that's not really heavy. You know, it might be like a light or medium weight fabric, which this kind of is, I think. So we just go around, and usually just a matter of putting the iron on there. I see that I cut this interfacing a little big, so I don't want to drag too much glue on my iron, even though it's pretty easy to clean off. There we go. So that's nice. Nice and ironed on. I just like the weight. Gives it some body. Easy to work with. Now, my favorite thing to do when I work with cloth and paper is to use Wonder Under or Heat and Bond, whichever, you know, you prefer. I cut the page, or excuse me, I cut the paper a little under the size. Might have to trim some of this off here. Yeah, I might have to trim a little bit off. I like to cut it just a wee bit smaller than my fabric so that I don't get glue all over the place. Besides that, I am going to be sewing the edge, so that won't matter a whole lot. I would recommend getting the light version of Wonder Under or Heat and Bond. Don't get the Ultra or the heavy duty because I don't think they recommend sewing with the heavy duty. I think they only recommend doing that with the light versions. So it's just a matter of going over just so you'd hear it. Doesn't take too long to do this part of it here. There we go. And you can tell by lifting up, you can see how shiny it is. The glue, you know, has broken away from the paper. If it hasn't, you just can go back and try it again, right? Okay. So that's nice adhered to there. Now we just lift it off. So this is like a glue. Now you could, you know, 100% you could glue it down to the cover, absolutely. But I like using the Wonder Under because for me, it just, you know, makes everything even, like there's no bumpy places where the glue might have globbed or whatever. Just, I don't know, just makes it very smooth, and I really like the way that looks. So let's put our paper down here over it. All right, and so you'll want to make sure it's pretty straight. Okay. Now there's going to be, I always like to put paper down here on the edges just in case some glue goes over. And it's really not, doesn't take that long for it to adhere. You know, just put on a few seconds, you know, here and there. And I should get my, let me just do this in here. So I like to put something over it to kind of absorb the heat because it helps the paper to lay flat. You can use a book or just anything. Probably shouldn't be using my paper. Let me run and get my thing. Okay, here we go. This is what I should be using. Just didn't have it. Okay, put that over there like this. Just helps the paper to lay a little straighter, you know, that's all. It's not necessary. Vital, if you get done doing this and the paper doesn't seem to be laying flat, you can just put underneath of a book and you're good to go, you know, with that. Doesn't take long at all. And so now this is all adhered. You've got all three layers just adhered, and it's just very nice. And there's no wrinkles and no creases and no places for glob, you know, where the glue might have globbed up or anything. So I just really prefer doing that. Now I'm going to go and just trim off the edges, because remember we did cut everything just a little bit bigger. One of the reasons I do that is also because when fabric is put under the iron that's wet, it sometimes shrinks a little bit. So if you were to cut it exactly the same as the cardstock, it might shrink past it just a hair. So that's why I like to kind of cut it larger than that. So there we go. Very nice. Very nice. So now, you can fold it now if you want, just to kind of like get an idea, you know, what that front's going to look like. I am going to place this on here, on the front. And the first thing I'm going to do is sew it. I'm going to sew this to the burlap, and I cut the burlap a little larger, well, quite a bit larger, I guess a half-inch larger than my ephemera here, and I'm going to take out I'm going to make a fringe when I get done sewing it. It's a lot easier to do it after you've sewn it. So let me step away and stitch around that real fast. Alrighty, I have sewn around the edge of the journal cover, and don't suppose it's absolutely necessary, but I like the look, and you know there is going to be fraying with fabric, and this sort of like helps to keep it in check a little bit, but you know with glue it's fine. So let's just fold it in half. This is our cover. So nice. And then I have sewn around this little piece of this little journaling card that I'm going to put on front. And now I'm going to take out the threads on the burlap. So now that it is all secured, this should not be too difficult. Not at all. I can probably even start pulling over here. There we go. And I'll just pull it this way. So the nice thing about burlap is it's very easy to fray, right? There we go. Probably will be giving it a haircut here pretty soon. As soon as I get it all out. There we go. I think burlap is nice and rustic for a woodland botanical theme type of journal. And one more here. Okay. So there's our phrase. And now I'm just going to cut it down a little bit here. Sort of even. Okay, I think that looks really cute there. Just made a mess. The only thing about burlap is it's very messy to work with. I'm going to have to get my lint roller out here probably and get the rest of that later. It also has the smell that some of them are really, really strong. This one's not too strong of a one, but for me, they sometimes feel a little on the strong side. So here is the cover, and I'll just raise it up a little bit, let these feathers come in. There's a butterfly. This is part of a nest. Too bad that wasn't a little bit more obvious. But, you know, it's on the back, so that's pretty cool. So let's just get the glue. I'm going to get my Fabri-Tac out. You know, I really moved a little too fast in this cover because I could have sewn the cover, I could have sewn this directly onto the cloth before I adhered it to the cardstock, but, you know, sometimes I get lost in my thought there. But this will work just as well. And almost getting down to the end of that bottle. And I think we're going to put it like right here. There. Okay. So there is our cover. Yay! Now the papers that I'm using are from Ephemera Garden. It's the same one that I used in my last botanical. Really think these are going to go so nice in there. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? I think it's really a nice compliment to the cover. Very nice compliment. So these are my papers. All right. So I went to a book, a nature book, and I pulled out a page I think I'd like to use. It has some of the colors in here, and this map area has some of that. I think there's a like this blue going on in here, so I think this is be a nice selection. And let me just trim it down a little bit. Trim this off. There. It's almost an exact fit. Pretty cool. Okay. Put this up here. Oh, there we go. So now, oh, a little bit rich. Yeah, I got a new printer. I got the EcoTank printer. The 2650, I believe, is the one that I purchased. It was at a pretty good price. Probably getting rid of them for the next model, and I think the next one is the 2750. I'm not mistaken, but I do like it. I like it because it is going to save in a lot of ink, and it makes beautiful prints. I did have to experiment quite a bit with papers and settings, and it took a little while to get all that together, but once I've done it, I'm pretty happy with it. And the only complaint that I have is that it is not borderless. So that should be a heads up for anybody who's looking into an EcoTank. It's not borderless. What I mean is that you cannot print to the very edge of the page. You're always going to have a little tiny border where it does not print, probably less than 1/4 of an inch. So what I do is I go in and I distress it, with ink to kind of camouflage that idea, but this dark brown is where the page really ends, and then after that I distressed it. And it's like for if you're making a TN, it's usually not that important, but if you're making a TN, it kind of is, because the cover needs to be a little bit bigger than your pages. I mean, I don't know if you really want to make them exact. It just makes sewing in a little bit more challenging. So because I want my cover to be a little bigger, then I have to go in and do this distressing. But, in most cases, it's not really that big of a deal, but you may find it annoying if you're used to that, and that's what you want. But it really shouldn't stop you exactly, because it does save in ink like you wouldn't believe. It's just, I am just really impressed. And the quality is great, and it's so much freedom to be able to print out a whole kit without worrying like, oh, I'm not going to use all the pages. I don't want to waste my ink. Anyways, so there we got our 14 pages in here. I'm going to pause here, and we'll pick it up again next time as I do these Craft With Me process videos. I hope that you will join me again and grab a cup of coffee and your own craft supplies, and you can just put me in the background so you have some company as you do your own crafting at home. Thank you for viewing, and please subscribe. We're going to do more ephemera for the TN journal next time, and I will see you then. Have a crafty day. Bye.